Hey, what is up, everyone? It is Rich. All right, welcome back to the continuation of the Wildstorm deep dive. When I say Wildstorm, I'm just not talking about the Image heyday. We'll call it 92 to 2000. But Wildstorm continued on for many years and did a lot of really interesting books, and in a way, actually did have quite a big renaissance when Scott Doombeer came in and started orchestrating a lot of other books and creators, and we had some really really incredible talent come through. But the first wave was very interesting. I think it has a lot of nostalgia for people, and this was actually a request by James Windsor Smith, excuse me, longtime friend, Patreon. He's a YouTuber. He does it all. But yeah, he requested this. I was kind of trying to figure out what I was going to do today, and I went like, you know what, this is decent. What I think is interesting about this is, and it opens up the opportunity to track some of these artists' careers, which actually is interesting because we've got a starting point. Although Travis did do about a year and a half worth of work for DC, and he dipped his toe in Marvel for a short story and a couple of single pieces. But he'd already been at Wildstorm for over a year when he did Wildcats 15. So to be clear, he did a Wildcat special that took him, actually, from what I understand, about 12 months to do. It's about a 48 to 60 page comic. Yeah, so this is his second Wildcats project, and a couple of years. He may have actually been at Wildstorm for 2 years at this point. I'd have to do the math, but we'll look at the date and see if we can figure it out. But anyway, there is something fun about this. I think I can point out some interesting observations and whatnot, and it should be fun. So yeah, settle in. We're gonna look at Wildcats, Volume 1, Issue 15. A very, very cool comic book. And boy, Travis, the cover, I believe, is inked by Scott Williams. Yeah, so Scott did the cover on this. But Troy Hubbs does the interiors, and they're a great team, I've got a few stories I can share along the way about this. I was not a Wildstorm at this time. I was just a fan like all of you. Travis definitely was coming on my radar at this point a little bit. I remember waiting. Sorry, I keep saying I remember waiting for issue 18 to come out. So definitely he had me hooked at that point. I think issue 16 and 17 is where he won me over. This one is very, very cool, but I think I kind of went back and appreciated this as I was doing samples. We'll get into that more in a minute. But all right, very, very cool cover. We've got Warblade. He's looking good. Maul. He looks good. He's a little lumpy, bumpy in spots, but I like it. Zealot looks great. He did an awesome job on Voodoo. This shot of her with her head back, those are tough to do. Spartan looks a little Gerber babyish. He would I don't know. People would say that sometimes his faces looked a little like the Gerber baby. We'll see if we see that as much in this. Emp, he does the best Jacob Marlowe. I think Travis's Jacob Marlowe is just great. Void looks awesome. Grifter looks awesome, but he will look more awesomer as it goes along. But yeah, this is a great piece. Classic early Travis. So we've got Travis Charest. It is pronounced Charest on pencils. James Robinson script, new writer. We've got inks by Troy Hubbs. Colors, Joe Chito. Assistant, Martin Jimenez. Very nice guy. Very soft-spoken, Martin. Joe and Martin were both actually kind of quiet guys. Sarah Becker, very, very famous editor. And we've got Bill Kaplan, editor-in-chief. I mentioned Bill in yesterday's video. All right, let's get to this. I love this page. I think this is so good. I'm going to lower the saturation just the tiniest bit, and we'll zoom in. Opening panel is fantastic. I really love this. I'm a big fan of silhouettes, and this is expertly injected into the page. And the colors are beautiful. They're really, really good. This is awesome. Man, this pose of Spartan standing here with his arms crossed is very, very cool. Grifter playing this little handheld game is amazing. I mean, just every one of these single drawings is great. I think he's reading Kafka. It's a little hard to read here, but I believe the Kafka is the book. Jacob looks very, very cool. He will look cooler and cooler as it goes along. And the like Warblade and Priscilla, they just all is really really freaking good. So as the files were opening for this, and I was thinking of it in terms of doing a video where I try to sort of reverse engineer things. My speculation on this comic book is that Travis spent several months on this. I don't believe that this was done in a month. It's just too much work. I've worked on stuff this detailed. As we go along, you'll see more. This would be nearly impossible to do in like 4 or 5 weeks. It's just too much. But what you'll see is Travis, we won't see it today, but when he gets into issue 16 and 17, he immediately starts to strip out a lot of the detail because it's just impossible to produce on a timeline, especially something close to a monthly book, and do it. It's just not, there's not enough hours in the day. It's just too much. Even when you can draw this well, it's rough. So this is the spread. We can just look at it like this. I'm going to lower the saturation a little bit again. I've actually inked this spread as a test page before. I don't remember what I did with it. Or no, well, I actually think that I repenciled this at one point. Right when I was first learning to draw. This would have been before I was at Wildstorm. I think I actually sat down and repenciled this whole spread. I did like a few, not many, but I did a Spawn double page spread that I penciled, inked, and colored, and I tried to color it like this type of coloring. I did this and a Gen 13 cover and a JC Leindecker painting. And I think I did 4 copies and then just kind of was like, I don't know what, this isn't really going to probably help improve my art. So I foregoed doing it. But I actually, somewhere, I do have actually my pencils of me trying to copy this. And I didn't lightbox the structure. I actually just eyeballed it. So everything was just like looking at it and then trying from the comic to replicate it on a double page spread. I don't know. I haven't seen it in a while. I definitely still have it. But yeah, it was fun. I was trying to wrap my brain around the level of detail that someone like Travis would put. And I know that from what I remember, I don't remember if he said it to me, but, when Travis was learning from like Jim Lee and Scott Williams, like early on, like when he was, just a kid up in Canada trying to figure out what to do, he would try to pencil it kind of like Scott Williams inked it because he didn't know any better. You just see the finished line art and kind of go, well, I guess this is what they do. It's understandable. And I think for me, because I didn't have any sort of real peer group, I kind of was doing the same thing. You just look at the finished art and you go, all right, I guess I pencil, ink, and color this stuff. I don't know how else to really get there. If you want to do it at home. So sometimes copying a few pieces helps just to like sort of get the ball rolling, I guess. So let me set this. It's a great spread though. Grifter looks amazing in the shot. I mean, it's all really, really good. And just fun stuff. I don't know where the pencils are. That they're probably in a tub somewhere in my storage. All right, we've seen all this. All right, what do we got here? This. Okay, so this is interesting. So this is actually the sample page that I believe got me hired. This is not my inks, but as we look at it all, I can tell the story. So Bill Kaplan, the editor-in-chief, I did samples for Wildstorm, or I came in with samples before I worked there and showed them my work, and Bill said, it's too brushy, and we kind of have this other look that we do at the studio. I mean, he was nice, but he was not really going for the look that I had, which would be kind of more akin to maybe something you would see on Kelly Jones, or like what Mark Farmer would do on Alan Davis, or you know what I mean. It was just I had met a brush inker, and that's the style of work that they did. Mike S. Miller too, believe it or not, was someone that I met early on. Anyway, they were all fantastic brush inkers, so that was the tool that I learned with. But anyway, so one of my samples that I did in the second wave, I think, was this piece. And Bill was kind of going over it, and he was sort of saying, you kind of drifted here in the pencils. And I had seen the comic book and the inks, and I would compare what Travis had penciled to Troy's inks on this. And I just had this weird moment where I kind of went, well, my inks are closer to what Travis penciled than the inker that you published, which was true. And it kind of made Bill stop in his tracks. It was like one of those risky moves where you're like, I'm just going to throw this out there and see what happened. I was young enough and sort of brash enough or cocky enough that you know, I would stand up for myself if I felt that I needed to. I have a funny story about Marvel that I'll tell one day that is kind of like that. But anyway, but Bill, it definitely caught Bill's attention, like all this stuff in here. I mean, I really hit it much closer to what Travis had drawn. And anyway, I got a call back later that afternoon after I went home, and they ended up pairing me up with Alex Garner as his assistant. So, you know, sometimes standing up for yourself, I guess, can pay off. This is cool. This is a little bit of a montage of stats. This actually isn't a page drawn. The only thing on the original is just these panel borders, and then these are all snippets from the comic. Many people may not know that, but I'm telling you that it is, because I know for a fact it is. So and it looks cool. You know, it works for me. Da-na-na-na-na. Santini. This is a great piece. Man, Travis is so good. I love how he drew this flag. So kick-ass. And this is, you know, really, I think, a testimony to what I love about comic book art is it's this creative moment that happens to end up on paper, and then it's inked, and you just kind of get what you get. And it has lumps and bumps at times, and some pages are, you know, probably for the artist more cringy than others. But as a fan, I was said this to Kelsey yesterday, fans aren't as judgmental as we are to our own work, and they just enjoy seeing artists that they like draw, you know. But, you know, the drawings that are cringy to us, sometimes they're kind of funny. They have like a charm for a fan, you know, where you go like, and there's a few funny little drawings in this book where just things, you know, they're hard to draw, and so it gets a little flat or distorted or whatever. So this is cool. Really, really nice little buildings. Travis always has like a cartoony sort of bump to his stuff, meaning that like, this will be a weird comparison, but if you're familiar with like Peanuts, you know, Charles Schulz art and stuff like that, some of the shapes that Travis uses, to me, really are reminiscent of that, but it's hidden in a monster mix of other influences. But if you ever see him kind of just doodle, he's actually a quite good cartoonist. This is all cool. Sexy Santini. This page is a little simpler. This would still take a long time. There's a decent amount of detail here. All right. Him talking to the crew. This is Troy. From what I always gleaned is this is Troy Hubbs, and I think that this is supposed to be Travis. So that's another little insert. I think I could be wrong on that, but I really actually do believe that. I think that that's kind of supposed to be Travis, and that's supposed to be Troy. Who knows if I'm right or not. Yeah, it's cool. He's drinking a little cup of coffee. I love the screen reflecting on his jacket as he's standing in front of the projection screen. I think that's a really, really cool and clever move. Never seen the script for this book, so I don't know if that was requested, but either way, you can see Travis starting to stretch with his drapery and folds and stuff like that. He's not quite there in terms of understanding it all, and I don't understand it all either, but I can see that he got better and better at this kind of stuff as he went along. And sometimes you'll see he'll go for style over substance. Maybe not on this book, it's more detailed, but if you look at the issues from 16 to 25, he'll get pretty surreal with like fabric and stuff like that, and just kind of, you know, it's a combination of style and you know, honestly, just having to get something done. You know, he clearly was picking up a lot of good stuff along the way, because as we saw, I didn't realize there was so much dialogue. I have a black and white photocopy of this page. I haven't seen this in forever. I had no idea there was this much text. These are real nice pages, though. I actually like the style. In fact, this is closer and more reminiscent to, if you've seen the Gen 13 issue 0 short story that Travis did with Lynch infiltrating, I think, the Halo building. He kind of does it in this style. It's a little Mignola-esque. It's very, very nice. It's really, really cool. I use this kind of stuff all the time, this type of thing. I don't know if I got it from Travis or Mignola, but I love shots like this with like black silhouettes and a little bit of suggested detail. I think it's really, really effective. I also like white silhouettes, but again, it's something that I feel I got from Mignola, but this is cool. He does some real interesting like rendering on the faces and stuff like that. So these pages are a little forgettable. I will say this though, that I've always liked this. I'm gonna grab my pen. I've always liked this. I think that that's really, really good. And it's funny because I know that this is the girl, but this almost looks like Tao or Dao, whatever, however you pronounce it, from later on, like his hair and even this very sharp sort of shoulder thing. But it's clearly her. But yeah, this is nice. I love how casual that is, and her standing there is great too. So we got a bar scene. It's funny, I saw this page not too long ago, just kind of on the random. And one thing that I kind of like, I don't know if I would say that I thought was interesting is this is a bar scene. He literally drew nothing other than this to indicate it's a bar, but you can tell it's a bar. But I mean, he doesn't have any glasses. There's no bottles of booze. I mean, you've got a guy with an apron and this, and it gets it across. And I was like, I like that. It's a nice shortcut. It's a bar. I mean, I would totally have glasses. There's no way that I wouldn't have had some stuff on the table, or maybe like a bottle of booze that he had served them out of, and this guy clearly would have a drink, and I'd probably want to show some stuff over here too. But that's you're just racking up more time on a page that, is this a page that's a reader is going to stick on? This is interesting too. You can start to see these more graphic shapes popping up in his stuff. He's starting to use more angles because he's trying to speed up. When you render the shit out of everything, it's just gonna take forever, which is fine, but if you have to get something in on a schedule, then you're gonna manipulate it. So anyway, we got the different guys at their houses and stuff going on. This looks like John Nee to me. I don't know if you know the name John Nee, but he ultimately went to work for Marvel, I think, and was let go not too long ago. But he was like the president of Wildstorm, or vice president of Wildstorm, and real important sort of person there. We've got the horse races, the priest, Santini, father and his son, and then making love. But this is quite nice. I always thought that looked real good. This is really, really good, and he's actually quite good at kisses. He's had to do it a few times in different books, and he always seems to do it quite well. He turns the girl's head at a real interesting angle, and then the guy. Kisses are intimidating. I had to do one in the first issue of Crystal Planet, and I actually thought I did a decent job with it. So that was one of the better pages, I think, in the book for this type of stuff. I had to draw a lot of things that were more similar to this type of storytelling. Not so much superheroes. So, and then we get back into the story here. It starts to ramp up. I actually love this page. I think it's really, really cool. I love this panel. It's got that Wolf's vibe that I talked about. The down shot, 3-point perspective is good. These are simple. I mean, he moved through this page fast, and it works well. And then the phone booth just gets decimated. But yeah, this is good. I like this. No. Oh, and then we got the Zella pinup by Travis and Cam Smith. So this, to me, looks like potentially it was done before the book was drawn. Just structurally speaking, I would say this was drawn maybe a year before the book that we're looking at right now is drawn. This was probably an inventory pinup that he had done right when he got hired at Wildstorm. Just structurally speaking, I don't think it's the same artist, meaning just that the time frame. He did a series of pinups right when he first got hired, and he had real nice detail, very, very slick pencils and stuff like that. But structurally, it was a little, a little random. I mean, this leg looks like something right out of Dark Stars to me, So I think this is fresh from DC. And he's still kind of cutting his teeth. And it might have been one of those things. I don't know this, only speculating as a fan, but his transition from DC to Wildstorm, and then his first job at Wildstorm being that Wildcat special, which again, this doesn't even look like it's at the level of the Wildcat special art to me, to be honest. The Wildcat special is drawn better than this. It might have been a green light in his head to just go, you know what, run with this Jim Lee thing for right now, because it's something that I enjoy. Two, I'm going to be working on Wildcats anyway, so I might as well learn as much as I can from Jim. And so you go from this to the more Jim Lee sort of structured thing, and then he grew out of there once he got that down. This is a great page too. This panel right here is actually very, very detailed. I don't know how much it shows, but all this stuff up here that's kind of covered up was quite intense. This is a great shot. Nice storytelling with him moving us this way. He moves us back this way. We get a little stop beat here. Goes off. We run in like this and this. It's good stuff. We got a little bit of a gooey head there, but it is what it is. And some abstract art. It's like I've had to draw a few paintings on the walls. They end up looking, I'm gonna just pull up the spread. They usually end up looking like I do like Rembrandt portraits and stuff like that. All right. So yeah, this is a very, very cool piece. Yeah, these designs are interesting. He sometimes struggled a little bit with like heads like this. I noticed it in later issues of Wildcats for an issue or two. They would sometimes, and it could have been the inks doing it, but yeah, they would get a little tiny bit crooked, just the slightest bit. And you could see how he's kind of constructing his fingers at this point. Is he's got like the basic hand shape down, and then he does little tubes, which is just how he kept it sort of together at this point. My hand wasn't going the same direction, but it's the idea. I mean, you can clearly see how the shapes that he's using to do his hands, and they got more and more advanced as he went along. I mean, the thing is you have to understand, when you're drawing pages, you're drawing a lot of freaking hands. On this page, he might have drawn 25 hands with different gloves, and some are holding guns and stuff like that. You're just getting massive amounts of practice each day that really, really starts to just refine things for you. So that's why when I recommend to people that are interested in learning to draw comics, that I say just go for it, even if you fail a lot. You're just testing so many of the challenges that you're going to face anyway. You can't avoid it. You literally cannot. It's impossible to tell stories and not have to draw just a bunch of stuff that you're not comfortable with for a while. But it is interesting. It all starts to kind of come together. This is a great page too. I love this sequence of the engine getting closer and closer, and then this is a great panel too. And silhouette looks awesome. But there's a lot of panels. He's got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 panel page. That's brutal. And it doesn't look too compressed. I mean, the size of these panels really helps him actually have a decent amount of real estate for things, and it actually is an exciting page to look at. Like, I don't mind it at all. And a 10 panel page is, boy, tight, I tell ye. So what'll be fun is once every month or so we'll revisit a Travis book, and we'll kind of move. We'll skip ahead and maybe look at like Wildcats 17, or we'll look at Wildcats 18 or 21. You know what I mean? And then we'll check out 25, and we'll see the evolution of him. We could do that with J. Scott Campbell, Matt Broom, Ryan Benjamin. It'd be fun. See the Wildstorm youngins and how they evolve. Lee Bermejo would be interesting, Lee's actually really interesting too, because he really worked hard on his art to get it. This is such a great panel right here. Love that. And this is something that Travis really used throughout his career later. He's always been really great with ships, and he's really good at suggesting like the things, and it always looks real nice. It's like almost like a Struzen thing, but probably I don't think that Travis probably was a super Struzen fan at this point. I think that probably came a little bit later. Who knows, though? That's only a guess on my part. But this is, man, this is like 1994, maybe 93, probably 94. But really nice page. He's great with the flag. It just looks so good. All right, what do we got? We got the big, cool monster Friday. And again, this is a very, very detailed page. This thing, if you see it in black and white, it looks like it took at least 3 days to draw. It's so, I wouldn't call it dumbed down when you see it inked and colored, but I'm telling you, I have seen this in black and white, and also just in pencil, and man, there's a lot of detail on this piece. This is like 3 or 4 hours just for this panel. Now, the misnomer with Travis is that he's actually a slow artist. I mean, I've watched him draw. He is not slow. The ideas may not come super fast to him, but the dude knows what he's doing. When he understands what he wants to draw, I personally have seen him do stuff really, really fast and have it look great. So, you know, sometimes the ideas are harder, you know. It's hard to sit down with a blank sheet of paper and work through all these things, regardless of if you can do it or not. And I've talked about, like, for myself, I'm still like, I have post-traumatic syndrome from frickin' all the flops that I've had. For me, my experience with penciling over the last, like, 15 years, I know, Kitty, this upsets you when I talk about this, but it's the truth. I failed so many times that's my experience. When I sit down to draw, there's this level of stress, because more times than not, I either would quit drawings in the past or get frustrated and give up, or, you know what I mean, find convenient procrastination excuses to not work on my stuff. And so now I don't have a choice. I'm on a book and I've got deadlines and stuff to do, and it's like I still sit down with that trepidation and that feeling of like, fuck, man, I've had so many disasters with drawings and I'm so picky, and it's hard, you know. But each time that I actually sit down and finish a piece, I'm changing that thought process in my mind, you know, to, hey, you can do this. You've done 35 pages of interiors now for this book, and you're able to do a page a day sometimes, and it's all building like confidence and experience. So this, again, it looks very simple in the book. This is a real detailed splash page. It really is. And he's real good with like lighting shapes. The one thing about Travis, and it was funny, is when I figured it out, I thought it was kind of an interesting observation, but Travis has more in common with Jack Kirby than you might think. But Travis is really, really good with simple shapes, and he knows how to light simple shapes. And a lot of the magic in Travis's stuff is the fact that he can do that. He understands simple form, and he knows how to throw light on it, and it really makes his stuff look great. And then the fact that he can go in and subdivide that onto little tiny things makes it a more even powerful tool. This is great too. This is one of my favorite pages from the book. I love these in perspective with the characters on it. I think it's so cool looking. And this right here is just great. This face right here, so like, it totally looks like a Tusken Raider. You know, what's interesting is the monsters that I'm doing in Crystal Planet, like the bad guys, I actually draw them very similar to this, but I didn't get it from Travis. It's just, I made it up, and it was kind of based on the Stormtroopers. I generally will give them this kind of thing coming around them. Whoa, sorry. But yeah, that's funny. I never even really realized that these guys look like that. And maybe the other ones did have pipes, but yeah, I was kind of going for like a Tusken Raider kind of thing, because I don't know, it kind of worked, but that's cool. But yeah, this is a great page. Really, really cool. quite a comic, right? I think that's the last page of the book, or I guess this is. This is very detailed too, honestly. I'm telling you, all this line work on these faces. This panel looked like real time consuming. This, maybe it was only a 2-day page. I think it would be very difficult to draw this in one day. Maybe. And, you know, look, at this point, you know, and I recommend this to people that are trying to learn to pencil. Get good at drawing. Then worry about inking your own shit. If you don't draw well, just don't waste time inking stuff right now, unless you're just like completely committed to, like, that's the process. Is maybe you don't pencil as much and you finish it in ink. I mean, if that's the case, then, you know, can kind of muddle your way through it. But this is Travis penciling a comic and Troy inking it. So Travis was able to focus on really what the job is, which is dynamic poses, clear storytelling, using perspective, lighting form, setting up scenes, you know, personality in the faces and stuff like that. And if you know that this is going to take you 14 to 18 hours to pencil and then another 18 hours to ink, you might start to shortchange some of this time, and your work is going to suffer for it, and that's not a good thing. I've said this in other videos. In a perfect world, I would not be inking myself on Crystal Planet right now. I would way rather have someone else ink it and only focus on the pencils, because it's just too time consuming to do both. With Blaster Kid, because it's a crowdfunded book, I'll spend more time on it. You know, I can spend 6 months on the book and pencil and ink it and still do 50-page books in a year. You know, but that's spending 2 or 3 days on a page. I don't have that time right now on the other book. The letter columns are always fun, because it is fun to see if you recognize any names and stuff like that. And I'm sure very, very cool for these fans to have the name of the book. All right, so James, you got your book. I hope you're happy. No. Now this is a good, again, it's like we've looked at some of the Wave 1 books. This is kind of a Wave 2 talent, you know, book. And although not Travis's first Wildcats foray, the Wildcat special is excellent. It's just longer than this. This is a really, really good comic. And again, if you want to see how Travis has to handle issues 16 and 17 and how he changes the way that he draws it, it is interesting to look at. And even 18 too, he really, really pulls back on the detail, but the drawings are getting better. It's an interesting thing. His work is getting more solid. The characters are looking more cool, you know, so it all evolves. So all right, have a great day. I got to get to work. And make sure to hit the like, subscribe, of course, if you haven't. Check out my Patreon for over 700 videos on penciling and inking and comic book reviews. You're never going to get through it all. This is what I tell people now. It's infinite entertainment. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day. Bye.